Okay, and we're recording. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this third episode of Cake and Conversation, our little Cathsoc podcast. Now, once again, I have forgotten to bring cake, but I guess it's a bit of a hit and miss with the name these days. But anyway, I've got a little bit of a UOB Cathsoc legend with me today. She's a former chair, she's an initial founder of CSN. And would you like to introduce yourself, Mary? Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, hello everyone. It's great to be involved. Also don't have any cake. But my name's Mary, and previous chair of Cafsoc Brum the year before Anton. And it's great to be with you.
I guess you guys might have noticed a bit of a trend here. Yes, I am going back every single year with different chairs.
Watch out, Bill Dolman, you'll be next.
Oh no, I've not even messaged him yet. Right, get on that later. Well, Mary, the first time I ever saw you as the mighty Cathsoc legend was at Flame 2 years ago when you were hosting it, and we were all stood in the top little corner, a little UOB corner, and Anton and Talia started leading a chant. Just chanting Mary Palmer over and over again. And
That's so funny.
I remember being sat there with my fellow freshers thinking, who's Mary? Who's Mary Palmer?
That's hilarious. That was like one of the craziest days of my life ever. I'd spoken very briefly at Flame during my gap year. I did a gap year with Cafod and the youth ministry team in the Hexham Newcastle diocese. And 3 of us from the gap year were just briefly interviewed. We had to squish onto a sofa. This was like 2015. And that was just like a 10-minute interview on stage at Flame in Wembley Arena. And I thought that was crazy. And then when they just give me a call to ask if I wanted to be in Flame, I was like, oh my gosh, of course I would. And they were like, we want you to MC it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I had no experience in emceeing anything ever. And then there I was in Wembley Arena. So it was mad. But no word of a lie on the day, knowing that Cafsoc Brum was up there in that corner was just it was a great thing to know.
I think it's crazy how you managed to get onto that, because I was thinking about it for a while. It's just how did you manage to get onto hosting the whole of Flame?
It was crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a really good event, and it's a shame that it's been cancelled this year because of COVID, and hopefully
there might be an online Flame, so watch this space.
Ooh, is that a little bit of inside knowledge?
A little bit of inside knowledge, a word on the street. They might have some more really good presenters.
Is that you again?
It might be.
I remember seeing, I think it was Governor B, and that was the first time in my life that I've heard Catholic rap. Yeah. And I did not expect it to be as good as it was.
Yeah. But behind the scenes, his wife was just kind of chilling, preparing herself because she was speaking as well. And she runs a social media channel called Girl Got Faith, which I followed for a few years. And I actually did go up to her hi, I'm a big fan. And she's like, hey, that's good. She was as nervous as I was to speak at Wembley, I think. So it was so funny. It was just crazy meeting people backstage and working with Michael Barwick, who's he's a deacon now, and he'll be a priest by the next Flame, God willing. So working with him to write the scripts and reflect on the speakers and put it all together was just such a good process, and learning about how the people who organise such a big youth congress like that, the amount of prayer and real discernment and thought that goes into it, and how the whole day plans was just kind of amazing to observe and learn from.
I think one of the best things about Flame for me is when you go to one of these huge young Catholic events, it really uplifts your spirit that you're not alone as a young Catholic.
Yeah.
So I think the first time that I properly felt that was when I went to World Youth Day in Poland. I think that was 2017, I think it was, if I remember correctly. And then that's when I went there, and there's millions of young Catholics everywhere, and you're just there wow, I can't believe there's so many people that share the exact same beliefs as me that are my age as well. And then Flame's the little kind of smaller UK version of that, which is just so good.
That's really cool. I was at World Youth Day in Krakow as well. It was like the end of my first year at uni that we went to Poland for World Youth Day. So it was like a really big part of like Catholic uni experience.
Yeah. What course were you doing at uni whilst you were there?
I did psychology, and I applied to do psychology while I was at sixth form, literally because I had no idea what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I never studied psychology before. I did like all science and maths, like A levels. And my friend was like, well, you know that you want to work with people, you like people, and you do science, so why don't you do psychology? And I literally didn't even really know what psychology was. I did like quick Google, and I thought like, yeah, this is good. So I thought I'd apply. Then I did my gap year with Cafod and YMT. And during that year, I met so many people who'd done psychology and were working in totally different fields. And a lot of them like managed to incorporate their faith within what they did. And I just thought, well, I've met enough like psychology grads this year. It was just like one after the other. I thought I'll just keep on this course.
So what did you do during your gap year with Cafod?
So the Cafod gap year, you have a UK placement, which is like for 10 months. So I was with the youth ministry team in Hexham and Newcastle, and we were part of the like youth retreat centre. I'd never been on a retreat with my own school because there was never enough people who signed up to go. So it was a bit strange. My first like school retreat, I was there, I was like a small group leader and like never even been to one myself. So we worked with schools from all over the northeast. I've never even been to the northeast of England, and now I live here. So it must have been good. So we ran the retreats with all the schools of all ages, from like primary school right up to 18-year-olds. And then we have a 1-month placement, which is abroad with Cafod. So I got to go to Zimbabwe and see firsthand like the Cafod projects there and how Cafod works in those countries as well. So it was a really good year.
So it was a good gap year to go on then. So
yeah, it was great. And then like I knew at the end of that year I was like comfortable in my decision to do uni. And when I got to uni, like freshers was still like a total whirlwind, and it was still scary, and it still had plenty of ups and downs. But it gave me a lot of confidence to know that I wanted faith to be a part of my university life.
Yeah, that's good. So how did Cafod like help with your faith then whilst you're on that gap year?
Yeah, so especially the placement in the UK, like learning how to talk about your faith. I think when we're challenged to tell other people why we have this faith, or when we've experienced or encountered Christ in our lives, that makes you reflect on that yourself. Talking to young people and encouraging young people to explore faith and wanting them to explore their relationship with Christ was like such a big opportunity. You never know what happens with those little seeds that you plant, but you just have to trust that you're there for the right reason. And so yeah, it was a really good year.
So when you came to uni, what year did you become chair of Cathsoc?
That was in my final year. So my first year.
Were you on the committee before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in my second year, I was the interfaith rep. So that was really fun. And I met up with a girl from the CSN and the Islamic Society, and we organised like an interfaith temple tour. And we went to a Catholic church and the Gurdwara in Birmingham, which is like one of the most amazing places. If you get a chance to do a trip there, like link up with CSN and do a trip. It is massive. It's like, I think it's one of like biggest Gurdwaras in the country. It's really impressive. And they do free food, which was lovely. So to have a tour around different places of worship by people who were my own age, we were all at uni to study, who we were all keen to like share our faith with others. So to kind of have a peer-led tour around these different places of worship was really cool. So yeah, interfaith before that. And then in my first year, as a little fresher, I was just super keen. I went up to the Freshers Fair stall and was like, hi, I want to come to World Youth Day with you. So yeah.
Did Cafsoc do a trip to World Youth Day?
Yeah. So that's how I got to go at the end of first year.
Fair enough. So talk to me about how you set up CSN then.
Well, when we were in first year, we had this trip to Oxford where we met lots of other Cathsocs mostly from the south of England. And that was really good, mostly because we had a fun trip to Oxford and we did punting and explored Oxford together. So it was a cool way to like get to know other Catholics from Cathsoc Brum. And then we volunteered to host the next conference. And because we're like in the middle of England, we just thought like, why only invite the south of England? Let's just invite everyone. So we did that. And then, so the way that South and North Cathsocs were split carried on for a couple of years. And then it was all kind of evident that we might as well just merge together. So yeah, CASU and NUX, which were the South and North groups, merged into CSN, the Catholic Student Network, and I was kind of in the team that helped organise the first conference in Birmingham. And yeah, just kind of been part of it ever since. And we've got a new team now, and we've grown it and developed it. So we've got a team of trustees who most of us have graduated or involved in other Catholic organisations like the Ascent and Youth 2000 and things. And then we've got a student committee as well, who are all current students from all different unis, including Nisha, who is the chair of that team. Woohoo!
Also my sister.
and also Francis and Helena, who are also from Cathsoc Brum. So that student team kind of runs the website and the social media for the year. And obviously they're like the first committee that is run in this way. So we've got some ideas of how we want it to develop, how we want it to be a really good opportunity for Catholic students to get involved, for mentoring and for learning how to express faith, how to run a national network. So it's a big job and responsibility, but like it's a really exciting opportunity to link Cathsocs together.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong throughout all of this, CSN is basically there to help young people who are Catholics that don't really know where their local Cathsocs are, or struggling a bit with trying to find Catholic groups that they can be a part of. Is that correct?
Yeah. We would really love like all the Cathsocs in the country to feel part of a bigger network. Like with Flame, when you go to things and see other Catholic young adults, it's really empowering, and for us as Catholic students to remember that we're not by ourselves, that we've got a whole community, is really it helps us and encourages us in our faith. So that's really all it is. When I moved from Birmingham, I now work in University Chaplaincy in Sunderland, and Sunderland's a much smaller uni than Birmingham, and the Cathsoc is set up very differently. So although on paper there is a Cathsoc, there's not like there isn't the AGM and the elections and it's not as student led. There's not such a big student committee. So students in Sunderland, when they first arrive, really feel like they might be the only Catholic student in the world, especially international students. So for CSN to be a support for the big unis to do like bigger and better events, but also for the small unis where there might be only a handful of Catholic students, to encourage us all to feel like part of a bigger community.
Like I was saying to Anton in the last Cathsoc, that last podcast even, that being at UOB, you have like a huge, like you're really lucky to have such a big Cathsoc. Like I think we have like 65 or 70 members at the moment.
It's amazing.
So like it's really easy to like see our events because we have so many of them. We're so present on social media as well. Like I'm just wondering, seeing as you said that Sunderland's got quite a small Cathsoc, how do you try and facilitate more young people and try and help more young people to be a part of that as one of the chaplains there?
So another funny thing about Sunderland is there's quite a lot of mature students who go to Sunderland Uni. So when we actually meet for like Cathsoc events, it can be that I'll be one of the youngest people, which is quite strange as I'm the one who's like employed as the assistant lay chaplain. So we'll gather and it can be people ranging from like 18, come straight from school, right up to a few of the women are like in their 40s or 50s. and they've actually come here to study like a top-up course for nursing or pharmacy, and have left behind their children, and obviously are at just a totally different stage of life to me. But when we all gather together, it's really like, it's just a really safe space to share faith. It's a space to remember that we're not alone. And so we do a lot of the same. It's just all about building relationships and building community together. So our events are definitely smaller than Cathsoc Brums, but it's just a place where, we can build friendships and faith.
How have you been getting along in the pandemic in achieving those goals?
It's been a lot to get used to. And when the first lockdown happened, it was just really strange. Obviously, like trying to do the same events but online did take some getting used to. But I think the hardest thing for students is that you sat on lectures online all day, and then your social activities are online as well. Like, it's just a lot of staring at a screen. So I think it's been important to change my expectations of how many people should come to an event. And however many come, just be like, this was meant to be, and these conversations were meant to be, and this number was supposed to be, where 2 or 3 are gathered and all of that. Like, Christ is so present. So it's been like exciting and different. And at the beginning of this academic year, when we had freshers, I just thought, like, we are never going to get any new students. Like, all the old students might want to get together online, have a catch up, but why would a new student want to join like an online thing? I just thought this is going to be so difficult. But we did actually get loads of new students, and it was really nice. And everybody's just keen for community. I think lockdown's made us all really appreciate how important community is. So it's been exciting, and we've obviously had to do new things, but we are ever optimistic and just making the best of it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, it's been really hard as well. Like, I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect a lot of people to turn up to the online events, but we've been having possibly even more than we could get in person for some of them, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. Like, some people have like an entire day online and they're okay with going on the computer. Others have like an entire day of like reading textbooks, and then they're like, okay, this is a bit of a break. But we've definitely had to cut down in the number of events that we had throughout the week as well, because I don't know if you remember, but we started doing like men's and ladies groups as well at UOB, and that's just not really been a thing anymore because of the virus. So
you definitely got to just like take any year like as it comes and see what works with the people who are there, like that, like each year. Like,
it was not what I was expecting when I decided to apply for chair. Like, I came into chair, I was just like, I've got all these great ideas, we're going to do this at the Cathsoc ball. And then next thing I know, I'm just there like, all right, okay, so what we're gonna do this week in our online quiz. Yep, one more quiz. Yep, sounds good. No, it's all right. We've got Eloise as our social sec. I don't know if you know Sophie de la Portalia, his cousin.
Yes.
So he's our social sec this year. Yeah.
We were housemates for like 2 years. We did psychology together.
Oh yeah. So he's our social sec now. He's fantastic. Like.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Got a really good community.
You've got to play Scattergrees.
What's that?
I'll just let you Google it.
Oh, okay.
But it's a great game. I just threw it out there as a game in like this just ecumenical student group that I help run with the Anglican chaplain. And we played it once, and he, as well as all the students, just found it so much fun and hilarious that he's asked me to lead it every week since. And everyone else is just loving it, and I'm just like, don't you want to play something else?
Right, guess we'll have that. We'll give that a go then. What we've also started doing though is taking after CSN, is we've started having socials with other Cathsoc. So we recently had one with Cardiff Cathsoc, and I think our secretary Ursula is trying to see if we can get any other Cathsocs that are willing to do some online socials.
Oh, nice.
Which makes it a lot easier now that it's on Zoom, because you don't need to go all the way there. You can just do it online. So
it's really interesting when Cathsocs get together, because I think that's when we realise like how different unis are. So in this diocese, there's like 4 unis, but there's 3 chaplaincies. So there's Durham, Sunderland and Newcastle. And over the last like 2 years while I've been here, we've tried to meet up like every term. And it is really interesting because the different Cathsocs are different, like the unis are different. So obviously like, Newcastle and Durham are very big unis. Durham's quite like a traditional university. And within their Cathsoc, they have a choir that sings like amazing choral harmonies. So when we do like a prayer thing together, we'd all do like 20 minutes each. And you'd suddenly have like, Newcastle would have a guitar, and then Durham will have a Latin chant. And like, it's really interesting, but it's really good for like students to see, like, just to meet one another. And like,
I think, yeah, you see that a lot, especially when you go to these like large events such as Flame, and you meet people, and you realize that there's like variety in young Catholics as well. You kind of like, especially like before I came to uni, I just had the assumption that all young Catholics were kind of like a bit charismatic-y and just kind of like, you know, clapping along and playing the guitar. And then I came to uni and I realized that, I mean, when I first went to the oratory for Latin mass, the first time I went there, I was like absolutely blown away because I was like, I didn't know this was like still such a big thing.
Yeah.
Because when I first went there, I just kind of assumed that the numbers would be quite low and most people there would be quite elderly. It was just not like that at all. There was still like loads of little kids and I was like, what's going on? I didn't expect this.
Yeah. And I think university is such a like rare and important time for us all. Like I spoke about like learning about different faiths, but also like learning about different types of people expressing their Catholicism in different ways.
For sure.
And you will probably like, we'll probably never be thrown into such a mixing pot of like young Catholics like ever again. Like uni is just like a great opportunity to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what I wanted to talk to you about was a lot of young people. So obviously I'd like to center this podcast towards young Catholics at university. And obviously when you come to university, love is in the air. Am I right, Mary? And what I wanted to talk to you about is, as a young Catholic, it can be quite hard to be in a relationship. And I just wanted to talk to you about what your experience has been like throughout that since meeting your boyfriend on your gap year, and what you've experienced and possibly any of the struggles and difficulties that you've had to go through as Catholics.
So I met my now fiance on my gap year, and I did not sign up to a Catholic gap year to find myself a Catholic man.
Although some people do.
No comment. So I just literally, it was just like not on my radar, on my list at all. And it was just something that just happened near the end of the year. Like, it kind of wasn't something I'd ever expected. I knew that we were good friends, and he thought like further ahead than I did. So it was him that first like approached me, and I was like, it was totally blew me out the water to start with. And then I obviously gave it time like to think about it. And at the end of our gap year, when it would all kind of like come to its end, we decided to give it a go. But obviously he was staying in the northeast to continue working at the retreat centre, and I was going to Birmingham for uni. So we had like the summer where also I was going to go back home, which is in the Midlands. So it was a bit strange. And then really the first 3 years of being together, I was in Birmingham and he was in Newcastle. So we were kind of just had this like long distance relationship. But it was probably something that was really turned out to be quite an important thing, because it gave us both space to explore our own faith and to make our own friends and to, like have our own space. But also like we'd have lengthy phone calls nearly every evening, talk about our day. Like that became like a bit of a routine that we would always just catch up with each other, not in like a it wasn't like a forced thing. Like if I was going out or anything, then that would be fine. But we just like got into a good routine of just like wanting to tell each other what had gone on in our days. And obviously we were both in very different environments and like just supporting each other in that. So he would always be keen to come down and like come to Cathsoc or like meet my friends, and I'd go up and like meet the gap year team that he was working with and things like that. So it was strange like being in a long distance relationship for 3 years, but yeah, it was good. And then at the end of uni, when the job came up in the northeast to work at Sunderland Uni, it was just a good opportunity to like not live so far apart. So then we got engaged a couple of years, it might be like a year and a bit ago now, and obviously planned to get married, and now I'm a corona bride to be, but it will happen.
It'll happen. Yeah, so what I wanted to ask is that a lot of young people, I know quite a lot of young people who have they've been my good friends and, you know, good Catholics for a lot of their life, but then when they go to uni, they struggle to maintain chastity because of obviously the increased social pressures. And I remember I spoke to Daisy in our very first podcast, and we spoke about an increasingly pornified world in her words, and the increased like social pressures of you know, having sex and other things like that before marriage. And I was just wondering what you have to say for any young Catholics who are thinking about this and feeling those pressures increase. If you have any words of advice for those people.
I would just say like it is really difficult, and like uni is a difficult time for everybody. I think my advice would just be to like reach out to friends and start these difficult conversations. If you do have like the girls group or the guys group, or even just like a one-off like get together, even if it was a more informal thing, like having good friends that you share faith with is a good space to talk about things that are hard to talk about. And probably you're all having like similar problems or similar questions. So yeah, find like good friends to talk about it with, and obviously if you're in a relationship, to always just have space to talk about difficult things as well. And awkward conversations, just pray about it and be brave to start these conversations.
Yeah, definitely pray about it. I think maybe even talk to your priest about it as well as talking to friends. But I think it's very important for a lot of young people to understand why it is that the Catholic Church says to save the physical side of a relationship until marriage. So I don't know how much you know about that. I don't know if you'd like to put in here and give me a bit of knowledge.
There's so much online to like, you could get so overwhelmed. So like, look for good websites or like recommendations. There's so many good ones. I can only think of ones that are really focused for girls, like Blessed Is She. Yeah, but like there's loads of projects. There's a new project coming out. I can't think what it's called, but maybe I'll remember it and I'll put it in the comments below. But yeah, there's stuff online to read about, or the stories of saints, or whatever it is that like works for you. Yeah.
So if I'm to explain, so basically I was having this conversation with the priest at St. Mary's. I can't remember how it came about, but he was quite an elderly guy, so he was a bit bored, evidently. He decided to pick on me for a conversation. And this topic came about, and he told me something, and I'm like, I can't remember it word for word, but what he said was, sex is like the ultimate form of love, and that it should only be reserved for one person, because you only should ever love like one person with your whole body, like because and I remember him saying that the world has taken this huge concept of love and then narrowed that down to romantic love, and then narrowed that down even further to sex. And he was like, you should only ever unite your body with one other person, because that is the true ultimate form of love. Like you can have fleeting interest for different people. You can love someone as a friend. You can love someone as a mother. You can love someone in a romantic way. But the one true ultimate form of romantically loving someone is sex, and you don't want to just like hand that out, basically. And I thought that was a really nice way of putting it, because it kind of goes to show that you need to be wary of that. You need to be wary of like the value of it, because once you understand the value of it, I think it helps a lot more young people once they understand why it is a teaching is what it is.
And fundamentally, like, although the teachings, we can have ups and downs of like, sometimes it might make perfect sense to us and sometimes it might annoy us or frustrate us or challenge us, but just trying to like remember that the teachings are written out of love for us and out of wanting the best for us, even if we don't see it ourselves. Sometimes that's really hard, about not just sex but about lots of things that the church teaches about. Sometimes that's really hard, but yeah, if we continue to pray about it, we can like hope for more wisdom and clarity about it.
I don't know if you remember this, but we spoke a little bit about Governor B and his wife at Flame. But she gave a really good testimony that day. I don't know how much you remember about it, but she gave a wonderful testimony, and she explained how she had a period in her life when she first went to university where she was looking around at her friends and she was thinking to herself, maybe I became too Catholic too young. And she was basically thinking to herself, oh, these guys look like they're having so much fun. Maybe I'm like too Catholic now. Maybe I can go off, I can do these other things. And then later on in my life, I can revert back to Catholicism. And then she just stuck at it. She stuck at what she believed. And then when she did eventually grow older, she looked back at that time in her university years and she thought like, gosh, like God really saved me there. He really protected me, because I look back at that time now and I'm so glad that I stayed faithful. I think that's and I was saying to Anton as well in the last podcast how there's a little bit written by Saint Ignatius of Loyola where he says that when you're in this kind of rut of Catholicism, the best thing to do is just stick at it, because you don't want to like look at the other people around you, and it might look as though they're having a great time, they're having fun in their own way, but I think you need to be honest to yourself and honest to God that what you're doing is like the path of joyfulness, the path of
and sometimes we like might hear other people's testimonies or hear other people's stories about like a big conversion experience where they've like something really crazy's happened, or they've done something really crazy and then they've had this like massive conversion, and that's great, but sometimes that might not speak directly to our own experiences, and actually, yeah, sticking in that rut is important. I started reading in lockdown and still haven't finished it, but I've been trying to get back into it this week. Is the biography of Saint Therese of Lisieux, written by Dorothy Day, and it's really good about like the little way, and things don't have to be like big and extraordinary. But Saint Therese is a real like advocate that like God's work in all small things and in daily life is really important too.
Yeah, I've started reading that book as well. It's a fantastic book. I'm about halfway through it. I'm at the point where she's just told her dad that she wants to enter Carmel. And yeah, I was saying, yeah, whenever you read it, I try to read it every day after placement, because I come home from placement and I'm quite tired and I'm just thinking, oh gosh, I'm just so bored. I just had like I can't be bothered doing this anymore. And I just read it, and then every single day it basically reminds me that there's so much good in the little things that happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite nice. And there's another like the saints are wonderful to read, and when I'm talking about the Governor B's wife and her testimony, there's a quote that comes to mind, and Saint Basil the Great. I've just googled it here so I can get it correct, and he said, hell can't be made attractive, so the devil makes attractive the road that leads there. And I really like that because I think you see that a lot. You see a lot of people that, they kind of like sway away from Catholicism and they kind of come back again. And for a lot of young people, that when they go to uni, that seems quite attractive. It seems like, okay, I can spend like 3 years away from faith and then I can come back again when it suits me. But that's just...
And I think the wider church has that kind of prejudice about uni as well. Like, I think a lot of adults in the church presume that at university faith is something that isn't practiced or isn't really alive. That's something I'm really passionate about CSN shouting about and celebrating how amazing Cathsocs, like what kind of stuff is going on, and like how Catholic students are really so vibrant and active, because it's a really exciting time to be a student and to be a Catholic student.
Yeah, it's really interesting time, and it can be quite a difficult time as well for quite a lot of people, especially regarding like the relationship aspect of things. I know I have quite a few friends who are Catholics and they are dating non-Catholics, and that can be quite an issue for them, because obviously that like the emotional kind of like chemistry is like very strong because obviously they're good friends, but when it comes to like the moral standpoints, I think it can be quite easy. Well, from what they've said to me, it can be quite easy for them to be to like forget. I wouldn't say forget teaching, but to like not fully understand it and not fully reflect on it, and it can be difficult for them to stay true to what they've not only been taught but what they've learnt themselves. And I just think I think it's very important, especially for young people, for young Catholics, at any stage of life. I'm not saying just university, but just because obviously I'm a university student, that's all I see. But so as you said, just to pray about it, and and
maybe it's meant to be. Like my dad's not Catholic, my mum is, and they actually met at Cafsoc as well.
Oh, wow.
It's a bit cringy. When I applied for unis, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to Birmingham. That's where my parents met. Like, that's just too much. And then I came on the open day and I was like, oh, I love it. So yeah. I actually stayed in Shackleton, which is also where they both stayed in their first year. It's just like too much.
You're living their life. You're living.
But they met in first year in halls at Birmingham. And my mum had grown up Catholic and carried on going to mass at St Edward's in Selly Oak, and my dad kind of like went with her the first time, and like they used to go to socials at Newman House because it was like cheapest beer on campus. But my dad just kind of like went with my mum out of like curiosity and out of like the fact that he fancied her probably, but and still now like he's not like being he hasn't been received into the church, but he comes to mass with us every single Sunday. Like as a family we always go, and he's like a group leader for our local HCPT group to Lords, so like he's really involved in lots of like Catholic things without being without being Catholic. But so like that has been a big part of my mum and my dad's relationship, even though like he would still say he's not Catholic. So yeah, maybe it's just meant to be, and you never know what will come out of it.
No, you do not. But like we've been saying, pray about it, and when you do feel those social pressures, I do think it's very important to pray about it, to take a step back, and I think definitely review. I think better than either of us could explain why the church teaches relationships to be the way they are. I think definitely talk to your local priests, talk to your chaplains. Catholicanswers.com is an absolute lifesaver. And that can be very helpful.
Something that I never expected to come out of the interfaith stuff was So the year after I was interfaith rep, Catherine Bridgewood was, and she organised this very cool event called speed faithing, where you like had to like sit and talk to someone of a different faith for 2 minutes and move round. And what came out of that was actually like a lot of students of faith, of different faiths, all face the same problems at uni, because most faiths teach the same things about like sex and drinking excessively and drugs and stuff like that. Like, and actually we all had a lot more in common than we kind of expected. So like interfaith events, you might also find that like that is an encouraging thing to remember, like actually we're not the only students at uni who have these values.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely, obviously there's people who aren't religious who share those values as well. Yeah, I think it is. But I do think it's very important to try and have a few friends at least who do share those values, just so when you do face those troubles and those issues, then you do have someone to talk to about it, like you were saying, and that can be very beneficial as well. So, that's all I really have to say. Is there any other advice that you would give to young Catholics who are in relationships / feeling these pressures?
No, just find friends to talk about it with, and Jesus is your friend too, so talk to him.
Of course, yeah, of course. So yeah, it's been great having you on. I really appreciate your time. It's been wonderful hearing about your CSN work, chaplaincy, and
maybe if Sunderland and Cathsoc Brum have a double date sometime, we'll see you all there.
We'll see. Maybe I could. We'll reach out to you and we'll organise it. We'll make it happen on Zoom.
I'll keep checking my emails.
Okay, maybe not on email. Don't use those anymore.
Oh no.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks, Pravy.
It's been lovely talking to you. Have a good day. Thanks to everyone for watching. Be sure to check out Cafsoc Brum on our Instagram, our Facebook. The links will be in the description. Thanks again to Mary for coming on.
And, thank you.
Yeah, see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.